Thank you, but I'm not here to talk about myself. I'm here to talk about hope. The journey that led me to this moment began 20 years ago in my mother's backyard, where a little girl's passion for plants was dismissed as nothing more than childish distraction. I was that little girl, Maya Chun, the dreamer who saw more than just flowers in her garden. I saw solutions. Growing up in suburban Seattle, I was always the odd one out in my achievement-oriented family. My brother Kevin became a surgeon, my sister Lisa a corporate lawyer, and I spent my time coaxing life from soil in our backyard. My parents, both successful software engineers, couldn't understand why their youngest daughter preferred dirt under her fingernails to lines of code on a screen. "Maya, you're wasting your potential," my mother would say, watching me tend to my experimental garden beds. "You have a brilliant mind. Use it for something important." What they didn't understand was that I was using my mind, just not in the way they expected. While other kids my age were playing video games or watching TV, I was crossbreeding plants, studying soil compositions, and developing new cultivation techniques. My bedroom wasn't filled with posters of pop stars, but with charts tracking growth rates and climate patterns. The breaking point came during my senior year of high school. While my siblings' achievements were prominently displayed on the living room walls, medical school acceptance letters, law firm partnership announcements, my parents struggled to explain their youngest daughter's hobby to relatives. "Maya's still finding her way," they'd say diplomatically, while I spent weekends in the greenhouse I'd built myself, developing what would later become the foundation of my revolutionary reforestation technique. I still remember the day I announced my decision to major in botanical sciences instead of computer engineering as my parents had hoped. The disappointment in their eyes was palpable. "Flowers won't change the world," my father said firmly. "Technology changes the world." "Watch me prove you wrong," I replied with more confidence than I felt. College was a revelation. For the first time, I was surrounded by people who understood my passion. My professors recognized something different in my approach to plant cultivation. While traditional methods focused on single species in controlled environments, I was developing a holistic system that mimicked natural forest growth patterns but accelerated them exponentially. The breakthrough came during my junior year. I'd been experimenting with a combination of soil bacteria, mycorrhizal fungi, and genetically optimized pioneer species that could rapidly establish forest ecosystems. My dorm room became a miniature laboratory, much to my roommate's bemusement. "You know," she said one night, watching me analyze soil samples, "most college students just keep a houseplant or two." But my hobby was evolving into something much bigger. I discovered that by creating the right microbial environment and introducing specially adapted plant species in a specific sequence, I could establish self-sustaining forest ecosystems in a fraction of the traditional time. The academic world took notice. My undergraduate thesis caught the attention of Dr. Sarah Martinez, a leading expert in tropical forest ecology. She offered me a position in her research team, studying deforestation in the Amazon. My family's reaction was predictable. "The Amazon?" my mother exclaimed. "What kind of career is that? Your brother just became chief of surgery." But I was done seeking their approval. 2 weeks after graduation, I was on a plane to Brazil, my heart racing with possibility. The Amazon was nothing like my carefully controlled garden experiments. It was vast, wild, and dying. The destruction I witnessed firsthand was heartbreaking. Endless stretches of burnt forest, bare earth where ancient trees once stood. But in that devastation, I saw opportunity. Dr. Martinez gave me freedom to implement my ideas on a test plot of degraded rainforest. My colleagues were skeptical at first. Traditional reforestation methods typically took decades to establish new forest growth. I was promising results in years, not decades. "It won't work," one senior researcher told me bluntly. "The Amazon isn't your backyard garden." But I knew something they didn't. Years of experimenting in my greenhouse had taught me that plants don't just grow, they communicate, cooperate, and build communities. My system wasn't about planting trees. It was about rebuilding entire ecosystems from the ground up. The first results exceeded even my expectations. Within 18 months, our test plot showed more biodiversity than 10-year-old reforestation sites using conventional methods. The soil was richer, the plant growth more vigorous, and wildlife was returning. Dr. Martinez was ecstatic. "Maya, do you realize what you've done? This could change everything." Word spread quickly in the scientific community. Other research teams began implementing my method, with similar results. Satellite images showed our restored forests standing out like green jewels against the scarred landscape. But it wasn't until the massive fires of 2023 that my work caught global attention. While traditionally reforested areas burned, our test sites showed remarkable resilience. The diverse, interconnected ecosystems we'd established acted as natural firebreaks, protecting vast stretches of rainforest. The UN Environmental Program took notice. Suddenly, I was being invited to speak at international conferences, consulted by government agencies, and featured in scientific journals. My method was being implemented across the Amazon basin, and similar projects were starting in threatened forests worldwide. And yet, my family remained unimpressed. Environmental consulting isn't a real career, my brother said during one of our rare phone calls. You could be running a biotech company by now. I didn't bother arguing. The results spoke for themselves. By 2024, my reforestation method had helped restore over 100,000 hectares of rainforest. The before and after satellite images were stunning. Brown scars transformed into vibrant green life. Which brings me to today, standing at this podium at the UN Environmental Summit, facing a room full of world leaders, scientists, and yes, my family. Finally here to witness what their daughter's flower hobby had become. My brother's dismissive comment still hung in the air. She's still playing with flowers. But as I looked out at the sea of faces, at the screens showing real-time images of restored Amazon rainforest, I felt only pride. The cameras flashed as I began to speak. 20 years ago, in a suburban backyard, a little girl believed that understanding plants could change the world. Today, I'm here to tell you that she was right. The Amazon rainforest isn't just a collection of trees, it's Earth's life support system. And we now have the tools to heal it. I clicked to the first slide, showing the devastating fires of 2023. When these fires threatened to destroy millions of hectares of rainforest, our restored ecosystems stood strong. Why? Because we stopped thinking about planting trees and started thinking about rebuilding communities. For the next hour, I explained the science behind my method, the intricate dance of microbes and mycorrhizae, the careful selection of pioneer species, the way we accelerated natural forest succession. But more importantly, I shared my vision. We can restore the Amazon within our lifetime, I declared. Not just with trees, but with thriving, resilient ecosystems that can withstand climate change and human pressure. The technology we needed wasn't in computers or laboratories. It was in the soil beneath our feet, in the wisdom of natural systems, waiting to be understood. The presentation ended with recent footage of indigenous children playing in one of our restored forests, surrounded by butterflies and birdsong. The applause was thunderous. Later, at the reception, my family approached. My mother's eyes were wet with tears. Maya, she said softly, we were wrong. So wrong. My father, ever the engineer, had questions about the technical aspects of my method. Kevin, my surgeon brother, was particularly interested in the pharmaceutical potential of the newly discovered plant species in our restored areas. You really did change the world, Lisa admitted, hugging me tightly. With flowers, of all things. But the most meaningful moment came when a young girl approached me, clutching a small potted plant. Dr. Chun, she said shyly, I want to be like you when I grow up. My parents say gardening is just a hobby, but I knelt down to her level. Let me tell you a secret, I said, smiling. Every forest begins with a single seed, and every great discovery starts with curiosity. Never let anyone tell you your dreams are too small or too different. That evening, I stood on my hotel balcony, looking out over the city lights. My phone was buzzing with messages, congratulations, interview requests, offers of collaboration. But my thoughts were in that long-ago backyard, where a little girl believed in the power of plants to heal the world. The next morning, I was back in the Amazon, hands in the soil, continuing the work. Because while awards and recognition are nice, the real reward is watching life return to places once thought lost. Every new shoot breaking through the soil, every butterfly finding a home in our restored forests, every indigenous community able to return to their ancestral lands. These are the true measures of success. My team has grown now. Young scientists from around the world come to learn our methods, each bringing their own insights and innovations. We've expanded beyond the Amazon, adapting our techniques for different ecosystems, from the Congo Basin to Indonesia's rainforests. The work isn't always easy. We face challenges from climate change, political opposition, and economic pressures. But every time I see satellite images of our green patches spreading across once barren land, I know we're on the right path. Last week, I received a package from my parents. Inside was my old childhood journal, filled with pressed flowers and detailed notes about plant growth patterns. They'd kept it all these years. Tucked inside was a note. Dear Maya, we kept this to remind us of how wrong we were. Your flower hobby wasn't just playing, it was research. It was innovation. It was love for our planet. We're sorry we didn't see it sooner. You didn't just change the world, you showed us a new way of seeing it. Love, Mom and Dad. I keep that journal in my field office now, alongside the latest scientific equipment and satellite imagery. It reminds me that great achievements often grow from small beginnings, that passion shouldn't be measured by others' expectations, and that sometimes the most powerful way to change the world is to nurture what you love and let it grow. As I write this, I'm preparing for another day in the field. My hands will get dirty, my clothes will smell of earth and green things, and somewhere, another forest will begin to grow. My brother might still think I'm playing with flowers, but I know better. I'm growing hope, one forest at a time. And to that little girl in her backyard garden, dreaming of forests and believing in the power of plants, you were right all along. Keep growing, keep dreaming, keep believing. The world needs your kind of magic. Today, when people ask me what I do, I don't say I'm a botanist or an environmental scientist or even a reforestation expert. I tell them I'm a forest whisperer. Because that's what my work is really about, listening to the language of plants, understanding the rhythm of natural systems, and helping nature heal itself. The Amazon is recovering, faster than anyone thought possible. Our method has been adopted by conservation projects in over 30 countries. The United Nations has set ambitious goals for forest restoration using our techniques. And every day, more people are beginning to understand what that little girl in Seattle knew all along. That plants aren't just pretty decorations. They're the key to our planet's future. My family now jokes that they should have invested in my gardening business years ago. But this was never about money or success in the traditional sense. It was about proving that passion, when nurtured and developed with dedication, can blossom into solutions the world desperately needs. As I prepare for my next presentation at the Global Climate Summit, I think about all the other dreamers out there. The ones being told their interests are impractical, their passions just hobbies. To them, I say, hold on to your dreams. Nurture them like precious seedlings. Because you never know which backyard experiment might grow into a solution that changes the world. The Amazon is breathing again, and somewhere in Seattle, in my mother's backyard, new experiments are taking root. My niece has taken over my old greenhouse, much to everyone's amusement. But this time, no one's calling it a waste of time. After all, they know better now. Sometimes, the biggest changes start with the smallest seeds. And as for me, I'm still playing with flowers. And I wouldn't have it any other way. 10 years have passed since that UN summit. The Amazon Restoration Project has exceeded our wildest expectations. Over 60% of degraded rainforest areas have been successfully rehabilitated using our method. Wildlife populations are rebounding, and indigenous communities report healthier, more productive forests than they've seen in generations. My old backyard greenhouse in Seattle has been preserved as an educational center, where school children come to learn about forest ecology and plant their own dreams. My parents lead tours there now, proudly explaining how their daughter's hobby revolutionized forest restoration. The little girl who approached me at the UN summit? She's now one of our most promising young researchers, developing new applications of our method for urban reforestation. When I see her working in our nurseries, that same look of wonder in her eyes that I had at her age, I know our legacy is in good hands. Last month, I received the highest honor of my career. Not another scientific award or UN recognition, but a letter from an indigenous elder in the Amazon. It contained a single seed and these words. Dr. Maya, you helped us remember what our ancestors knew, that the forest is not a resource to be used, but a community to be nurtured. This seed is from a tree that grew in your first restoration site. Plant it, and remember that your work has planted seeds of hope in hearts across the world. That seed now grows in a special place in my garden, alongside the first plants I ever cultivated. It reminds me that every great achievement starts with a simple act of faith, believing that something small can grow into something magnificent. To anyone reading this who's being told their dreams are too small, their interests too strange, or their passions impractical, remember my story. Remember that the world needs all kinds of minds, all kinds of dreams, all kinds of solutions. And sometimes, just sometimes, playing with flowers can save a rainforest. Thanks for watching. See you again in the next video. Stay stunned.